Hi everyone, my name is Alex and we have today the second part of the recent video we just recorded. That was a traditional way in financing a property. We didn't talk that much about financing a property, we talked more about the credit history and the issues about the credit history. If you remember last time I asked if I can still buy a house not having a credit score or credit history, and today we have again our guest Gabriel Harris. So he's gonna explain us some creative ways to finance properties and still buy real estate not having that credit history. How are you doing?
Doing excellent. Watching the rain over the window and enjoying
In Washington,
Washington's weather.
Okay. What you can tell us about not having that credit history and still buying properties? I know you are an investor and you are buying a lot of those properties, like doing all these creative financing ways of buying those properties. What you can share with us today?
So yeah, there are multiple ways to buy properties, especially here in the US, and we're gonna talk about the creative one, the most one I like it, and we're gonna talk about owner financing, and we're gonna talk about subject to. There are two strategies I'm using daily to run numbers, get leads, and make offers, and even lock down those properties and turn them into rentals. So owner financing describes by itself, right? Like you have an owner who owns the house, you are the buyer. Instead of going to a lender, getting the mortgage, you can ask the owner to finance it to you. You bring a down payment of how much you want, you deal with the owner, you get the agreements in place, like you can do like as low as 0 down. I have seen that before actually. You can go as crazy as you want, like 90% down if you want. It's up to you. And you can negotiate also on the interest rate. You can go as low as 0 interest rate. And yeah, sounds crazy. Right now everybody's paying like 7.5 on a conventional loan or FHA, and you can get 0 down, 0 interest on owner financing. Like that's why it's called creative. You go creative, you can go wild as much as you want. So that's owner financing. And in order to get all the paperwork done, you have to still go through a title company. Alex is gonna explain what a title company is and what they do.
Probably
in the next video. Stay with us, watch out. And the title company is gonna record the deed. The deed is the title of the property. They're gonna transfer it into your name or your entity, LLC, trust, whatever you want. And then they're gonna build a promissory note, which we call mortgage. You can use a servicing company that's gonna charge you, the new owner, and is gonna pay the seller, the owner, who now becomes the bank for you. And they also can pay property taxes for you. You're gonna get an insurance in place, of course. So everything goes creative and you can play with it how much you want, however you want.
So what I'm hearing for you, so basically when you do seller finance, the seller acts as a bank. So basically the seller is the bank who is giving you that mortgage, kind of lending money on that property, right?
Exactly.
And the flexibility of that is that you can agree on any terms that you can agree between you and seller, and you don't have to go with any of these guidelines, whatever, Freddie and Fannie is gonna
Guess what? Like no one is gonna check your credit score, no one is gonna ask you for tax return, no one is gonna ask you for pay stubs, no one gives a damn how long you've been in US. Do you have a social or not? As long as you have a report building up with the seller and the seller trusts you and you have all the agreements in place and everybody feels comfortable with the agreements, with the payments, with the down payment, with the monthly payment, with the interest rate, as long as everybody's happy, who cares? I mean, it's a deal. It's a win-win. Like as long as it's a win-win, it's a deal.
So basically you say they will not ask, they can ask for credit if they want to. They can check on your taxes, right, if they want to. Because if you are a seller, you want to sell the property this way, it doesn't say that you just sell the property to a stranger, right? You can still check all of these, but usually if you have a good rapport between you and the seller, so they will not ask all that stuff. If you have like good relationship, they can just sell the property to you. So that's what you wanted to say.
Exactly.
Yeah, but okay. Can you explain us what's the subject to?
Okay, so subject to is when you purchase the property, subject to the current mortgage. That's why it's called sub to or subject to. So in this case, we are talking when we already have a mortgage in place, right? There is a promissory note between the seller and his bank. When he purchased the property, they built a mortgage in place to close on the property.
Right.
So now let's say there are multiple owners who for some reasons can't sell their property open market. Either there's low equity or there might be like many reasons. So in this case, as an investor, we approach the subject to type of transaction where we take the deed on the property, we record it with a title company again under our LLC or our name or a trust. It's up to you now based on your exit strategy, and you keep the same mortgage in place. Let's assume like you have a 3% interest rate mortgage. Why would I go today, borrow at 7% interest rate and negative cash flow if I want to get a rental, right?
Right, yeah.
It's no brain for me as an investor to buy a property that's negative cash flowing. So in order for me to make a deal, a win-win for both of us, I can make the payments on your behalf on the mortgage because we keep it in place. We don't assume, like don't confuse these two things, subject to and assumable loans. Assumable is when you go to a lender, you apply, blah, 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 like the credit score, the taxes, all the good old...
You just get the benefit keeping the same interest rate.
Exactly. So, but on a sub-2 way, we let the mortgage stay in place. We just go online. Literally, we're using your website, your credentials, and we're gonna set our bank account for the monthly payments, and we set it auto pay, or we can use a servicing company who's gonna charge us again and pay the mortgage on your behalf. And this way you save a lot of headache and you get the lower interest rate, which is comfortable. And again, no one is gonna ask you about your credit score, about your taxes and so on. I mean, they can, but if the seller is in that situation where he have to sell it to an investor and not open market, means he don't really actually have much to lose. So they would be open to such options.
And how that's gonna benefit those sellers? In what situation they may want to sell to you and not to sell on a regular open market?
Good question. So the benefits for the seller would be fast closing. You don't need to list it with an agent. You don't need to pay commission. You don't need to pay closing costs most of the time because the end buyer, the investor, would cover all the expenses, all the closing costs, all the title junk fees and so on. As a seller, guess what? Because the mortgage stays in place, now they're gonna get the payments, and all the payments gonna get reported on the credit report, on the seller's credit report. So they're gonna get like 5, 10 years, 15 years of one-time payments, and that looks good on the credit report.
And I just want to add a little bit more here. So usually when you sell this way, not traditional way, so besides that you don't have to pay many stuff, you can probably sell for a little bit more just because you have better rates. So you as an investor can offer a little bit more money on that property just because you get like a better loan than just to go and apply for a mortgage, right?
Exactly.
This is going to be one thing. Another thing may be whenever a seller is in that situation where the property may get foreclosed or something. So a transaction like that may save you from that foreclosure, bad credit report and all that stuff. You can still get some money out of the deal, right? When you do this, and you can keep it like as clean as possible. You can start a new chapter buying another property or moving on or maybe renting, and you don't have this, like damaged credit history and all that stuff.
Exactly. And I have a case study we can talk about like real quick. There was like an agent actually who sold us the property subject to like, can you believe, like an agent?
Yes.
He didn't sell it open market, but he chose to sell it to an investor and subject to over traditional sale. So this agent purchased the property after COVID, like 2022, I believe, or 2021, probably 2022, like January. She purchased the property with like 3.5 FHA loan on the down payment side. A year later, she needed to get rid of this property because she needed to move to another city for some personal reasons, and there was not enough equity to list the property on the market, be able to pay the agent commission, the closing costs from the equity, like from inside the property. There was no equity to pay. So this agent would need to write a check to sell her property to someone. Like, can you imagine that? Like, he's selling something and you still have to pay someone to buy the property from you. And guess what? She reached out to us. We covered all the closing costs. We gave her like $12,000 just to be able to move on to a new place instead of her writing down a check for someone. Now she's getting a check for like $12,000. So I guess it's a win-win and everybody's happy. She's getting a good credit report now. We are getting a property that's gonna be rented out and cash flowing, and everybody's happy.
These are like two untraditional ways, two creative ways to buy or sell a property, so it may benefit a buyer and seller as well. This is gonna be all for today. Stay tuned for other videos together, so we'll be bringing you more information on how you can start and become an investor as well. And if you're looking to sell a property in a traditional way, I'll be happy to help you with that. If you're looking something creative, you can reach out to Gabriel Harris. He's gonna do the best service for you to fix it up or to make it happen.
Peace.
Cheers.